Hey YouTube, I'm making this video in response to someone else's video I saw earlier this afternoon before I left the house. And this is in response to, does Uber discriminate against black passengers when it comes to picking them up? Now, this person's video was making his viewpoint was that Uber discriminates against black passengers because they refuse to pick them up, or they're late picking them up, or they cancel because they're black. Now, this is a perfect time for me to make this video, especially where I'm at right now. I just delivered barbecue meals, probably worth about $50-$60. I didn't get a tip, but you know what? I already accept that Uber customers are not going to tip at all, regardless they're black or white, period. But let me show you the area I'm in. Let me see, maybe you can see it. If not, I don't know. Now, if you could see, I don't know if you could see it, but this is the Kirkwood area of Atlanta. It's a neighborhood that's right off of Moreland, in between Little Five Points and East Atlanta. And this is a gentrification neighborhood. This is an in-town neighborhood that used to be black, or majority black. It was poor black people used to live around here, because I used to live in East Atlanta back in '96 when I first moved here. Then, as most neighborhoods across the country, and particularly in Atlanta, a lot of suburban, white, affluent people moved in town. They moved in town. They bought these houses, fixed them up real nice, made all these hip neighborhoods, restaurants, bars, the Atlanta Beltline. And now it costs $400,000 to $500,000 to live in this neighborhood. When 20 years ago, when I first moved here, all these houses were crack alley houses, burnt down, run down. No one lived here, or if they did live here, they were a lot of poor, homelessness, a whole bunch of things going on. Because if I turn this corner, you could still see that happening. But it's just a matter of time before the people who bought these houses, who are usually real estate investors, who bought the house and going to flip them, they're gonna be out and gonna be homeless, and they ain't gonna have nowhere to go. I just saw a man standing in a house. He had 2 suitcases sitting on the stoop. I don't know if he was waiting for the MARTA bus or whatever the case may be. But anyway, in response to the video, does Uber discriminate against black people? My response to him was no. And the reason why I said no was because, number one, he was saying that when people see the person's face in the app, they're going to cancel, or they don't pick them up, or they take a long time picking them up. I was like, first of all, you don't even see the person picture with the passenger. Now, you may make that assumption that they're black because sometimes you may see the name, Jaquita, or they make these fake names. I don't know what it is with that. They don't even put their real names. And then you assume that they're black, and therefore somebody's not going to pick them up. Now, for one thing, if you're the closest driver in an area, regardless what area you're in, you're going to pick them up, or you're going to affect your acceptance rating. So, and another thing he made was, if they were 10 miles away and you get dinged, people are not going to go in the neighborhood because they're black. No, they're not going to go into, for one thing, the reason why you may not see as many Uber or Lyft drivers in certain neighborhoods is because, number one, Uber promotes at least for the last month or so for me, I've been getting all these alerts to go to neighborhoods such as Midtown, Buckhead, Virginia Highlands, downtown Atlanta. And because the money is in those locations, and because the makeup of the locations tend to be predominantly white, predominantly affluent people who have that type of disposable income, they see the advantages of using Uber because, one, a lot of them moved from the suburbs. They moved in town to be closer to their jobs because a lot of the tech companies, high tech in jobs, they moved in town. They moved, all the restaurants, establishments, bars and fun things to do is in town. So all the places that used to be in the suburbs, when white people used to live in the suburbs, all the malls and the stores and the, everything was out there when they lived out there. And then when they got tired of the commute, they was moving in town, and it was, the long commute, and what they call is economic sprawl. Because when you go into when they developed in those neighborhoods in the suburbs, they overdeveloped the neighborhoods. Everybody was living there. It got too much. It got too much. Then they say, okay, I want to move in town. They went in town and switched. Then black folks, Mexicans, and people of color, we moved to the suburbs. But then we moved to the suburbs, all the stores, all the restaurants, all the, amenities left, closed its doors, moved, they all moved in town. And it's not because, and it could be racism involving that, but it's more about money. It's about money. Because most white folks, and they got that disposable income, to do, to take Uber, When I was driving with Uber, and I don't drive people as much anymore, because to me, I can't deal with the traffic. I can't deal with all the congestion. I can't deal with all the craziness. And I can't deal with all the people get in your car, slam the door, can't say thank you. I know I can't let those few people who affect me like that about my money. But at the same time, I started thinking to myself, you know what? I'm sitting here putting all this wear and tear on my car for Uber to take 25%. They're going to take their money anyway because you're using their service and technology. But I said to myself, you know what? When people started acting like you're a servant rather than you providing a service, and these little entitlement attitudes and this, I'm the customer and you treating me like I'm your chauffeur, I say no more. Can't do it. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to drive people around anymore. I'll do food. Because, number one, if I'm going to do Uber Eats, which I'm doing, I'll make my attempt to get to the car, to go to the door and give you your food, and that's it. But most of the time now, they're waiting, they're waiting there at the curb, waiting for you to show up, or they see that you're about to come and pull up. At least most of them, they know how it's inconvenience to park, or there's no parking, and therefore they at least gonna go out there and get their food. So I appreciate that. But in terms of Uber discriminating against black folks, let me tell you how I feel that they are discriminating against more so. It's not the drivers, because drivers, their position is, most of them are black. Most drivers are black, people of color. You don't see a whole lot of white folks drive Uber. I don't see them. I don't care what y'all say. There ain't that many white folks drive Uber and do Lyft. Now, if you see a white person doing Uber and Lyft, they mostly are working class white folks who are in the same position as black people, trying to make ends meet and trying to make some extra money, and that's it. But other than that, you're not gonna see you ain't gonna see a whole lot of white folks driving Uber, or Indians, or people, and Mexicans and Latinos. They got their own taxi services, because I see at least 5 of them in Atlanta, and they got their own little orange bus. They got their own transportation system in place, taxis in place. So they're not gonna do Uber. They may take Uber. I mean, I've taken up a couple Hispanics, but you're gonna see a whole lot of them taking their own services from their own people. Go to Buford Highway and see how many Mexican people you pick up. Ain't gonna be about 2 or 3, but you're gonna see a whole lot of them taking their taxis, and it's gonna be Amigo taxi service. And I'm not making that up either. It is Amigo taxi service. But back to my point. So I said, no, people cannot see the passengers, but you could assume they're black based on the name when it pops up. But most of the time, people are not going to that neighborhood. Certain neighborhoods, it's not so much because they're black, it's because of safety. Safety. And if it takes them that long period of time to get to the neighborhood, it's because, number one, black people, or more people, poor people, don't have the money to take Uber on a regular basis. They're not out there in neighborhoods as much to get Uber, because a lot of times we are in areas where there are surges. Every day I get something about surge, Buckhead, downtown, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't go to those areas because of the surge. Now, when I do Uber Eats, the only reason why I don't do Stone Mountain is because they don't have Uber Eats in Stone Mountain area. Now, the closest I will have to go is Tucker to deliver food. But if more black neighborhoods had Uber Eats, and most of these black neighborhoods, restaurants that's owned by black people, I ain't talking about black people who work in the restaurant, I'm talking about black people who own the restaurants. If they signed up for Uber Eats and Grubhub, and they are in the black neighborhoods, then it will have a trickle effect where there'll be more black drivers, or drivers period, in the neighborhoods where people could pick up passengers and take them where they need to go. But it's about money. It's all Uber and Lyft. It's all about money. Since most affluent people, they live in town and they happen to be white, and they order the services of Uber and Lyft more often, that's where their money's gonna be made. It has nothing to do with color. It has nothing to do with someone being black and not being picked up. So that's my take on that. Now I'm going to make a second video, because this video is not going to show all my thoughts. So I'm going to make another part to this. So I see y'all in a minute.